Hi and welcome everyone. My name is Rachel Chanette. I use she and hers pronouns. I'm one of the assistant directors of admissions here at College of the Holy Cross, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to week 2 of our 5-part mini webinar series, How to Make Your Application Stand Out. I am joined tonight with 2 current students. We have Elena and Kevin here to talk about how to showcase your resume and experiences. So we're excited to talk more on that subject tonight, answer any questions that you might have. As folks are entering the room here, we just want to say welcome from Worcester, Massachusetts. We're glad to see you here tonight. If you haven't already heard, my name is Rachel Chanette. I am one of the assistant directors here, and I am thrilled to introduce our 2 current students who are here to share a little bit of their insight and wisdom on the application process here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about showcasing your resume and experiences. Elena and Kevin, would you please introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So excited to be here tonight. My name is Elena Biotti. Like Rachel said, Kevin and I are both current students at the college. I'm a rising senior, and I'm from Chelmsford, Massachusetts, so about 40 minutes from Holy Cross in the Worcester area. I'm a psychology major with a double minor in education and deaf studies. I'm pretty involved with admissions during my 3 years at Holy Cross so far, so a tour guide continuing out this summer, and then also going to be a senior interviewer next year, which I'm super excited for. And then just a few of my other involvements on campus. I am the co-chair of the Psychology Student Advisory Committee. I'm also involved with COPE, which is our counseling outreach peer educator, so working closely with the College Counseling Center. And I'm also part of SPUD, which is a large student group on campus, working with Big Brother, Big Sister. So those are some of my involvements.
And hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Hamilton. I am also from Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Funny enough, I'm a political science major. I'm going to be a sophomore this coming year. So I just finished my first year at the college. And like Elena, I am a tour guide. I volunteer with the admissions office throughout the year. I'm a class senator with the Student Government Association, among a couple other things. So I'm very excited to be able to share a little bit about my experience with you guys.
Thank you both for being here tonight. We're so happy to learn a little bit more about your experiences as you are navigating the college application process. And really, really glad to welcome everyone you're here tonight. Please just keep in mind that there are closed captions available. If you see on the bottom of your screen, you'll see the live transcript option, CC. Please click on those to use that function. Whether you're joining us live or if you're joining us later, as this will be uploaded to our YouTube and archives, we're glad that you're here. We're excited to dive right in and give a little bit more insight into how your experiences can help make your application stand out. Now, of course, we're really interested in hearing all aspects of your experience. So academics are important, but your experiences are really something that matter, and there's something that are unique to you. And so, Elena and Kevin, I want to ask a little bit about what you were interested and involved in high school.
Yeah, so I can start. So, kind of thinking back to my high school experience, always from a young age, I had played soccer. So, soccer was kind of my big athletic involvement in high school. Throughout, I played varsity my last 2 years in high school and really enjoyed that a lot. I also was involved a lot with working with kids with disabilities. So, through my high school, I got involved with Best Buddies, which was a club at my school. And I also, outside of school, volunteered usually once a week during the fall and winter with a program called Kids and Disability Sports. So through that, I coached soccer and I also coached basketball, kind of working with those individuals and being able to kind of apply my own knowledge of the sport, and also just kind of interact with that community. And then another one of my major involvements in high school was National Honor Society. So that was something I was really proud to be inducted into during my junior year. And then I got involved with the board. So kind of took on a leadership position as the recording secretary for my class year. So those were kind of just a brief overview of some of my involvements at my high school.
And for me, I was sort of all over the place in terms of my involvements. I really got involved with some leadership and service opportunities, different clubs, but also like Elena with the National Honor Society. And then I was also elected as the president in my senior year. So I was involved with service through that. There was another group called Leadership in Motion Everywhere where they put on some service projects too. So volunteering was really big for me. I was a member of the track and field team, the spring track and field team as well. And then I also got involved in the arts with one of the co-ed a cappella groups at my high school, as well as with the theater program. So those were really my biggest involvements.
Wow, that's really interesting and just a really unique array of things going on between the both of you. I just want to remind our audience that, clubs, activities, sports we have covered here. Also, the ways that you're involved in family life at home. All of these things, are a part of our students' experiences. And we're interested to hear more about that. And considering the application process, one of the ways that students tend to explain their experiences is certainly through their essay. It's just a special opportunity to use your voice. And I want to ask our student guests, Kevin and Elena, can you talk a little bit about your college essay? So in that writing experience, did you end up utilizing your experiences with the activities that you mentioned? And if so, what did you pick and how did you decide to go with those topics?
So I can start off on this one. My essay was actually about a failure, a loss. I wrote about how I lost a student government election, and so really it was a way to demonstrate taking risks and then being able to learn from them, kind of like the release of a dream. And that sort of wasn't a closed door, but something that just pointed me on a new path to other open doors and other areas and positions where I could continue to learn about myself and learn new things. And so in a very literal way, it demonstrated my involvement with student government at my high school. But in another way, it just sort of demonstrated my my breadth in terms of the activities I did. I always wanted to try something new and kind of get a taste of a bunch of different areas. That was just something I had wanted to do. And so in some ways that risk taking that I wrote about in my essay was then sort of supported by all of the activities that I did while I was in high school.
Yeah, and then so my essay was definitely different from Kevin's. I think a lot of my involvements kind of and the things I talked about in terms of the last question with extracurriculars helped me form an essay. So I wrote mine about kind of actually working with one particular student who had Down syndrome and coaching her in soccer. So I kind of the whole essay was really just about how the most I really learned from the game of soccer was from this one, student in third grade and kind of the way that she, dealt with the sport and kind of some of her kind of difficulties. So a lot of times we would show up and she would not want to play soccer and she was very fascinated with anything else on the field. And so I remember being so fascinated by that, but she always kind of came back each week ready to learn more, even though it was not easy. And so for me, soccer always kind of came naturally. And at times I felt that it was difficult in ways, but I kind of really learned a lot from her. And so my essay was really kind of just about how the most I learned from the sport of soccer and the game in general was from this one student with a disability and how that kind of led to my passion for working with these students and something that I continued at Holy Cross and hope to continue kind of in the future, just always those service activities and giving back.
Thank you both for sharing a little bit about your essays. I mean, they're really personal. They don't always have to be. And like Kevin shared, they can be a range of experiences, maybe something that you wouldn't expect to turn into a positive thing. Kevin, really appreciate your perspective and just your willingness to share just the gamut of, outcomes that happen when you put yourself out there and your ability to bounce back. That's a really wonderful thing to advocate for yourself. And Elena too, just, sharing some of those real life experiences. Although we maybe get many essays about soccer, that was really unique and just an experience that Elena only could share even through the other people that may have been on that field. And I want to say too, to our audience that, even if you do think about topics and if you are wanting to share something that maybe you feel a little vulnerable about or uncomfortable, maybe don't feel that you have to do that just to get our attention. You're more than just your experiences. We certainly want to hear them, but we don't want you to feel pressured to share something just to make yourself stand out. So I just want to allow you to kind of think about all of the things that you've experienced from the most mundane to the most memorable. It's really in the way that you put in your voice and style it. That's something that is uniquely you. And so, in addition to the college essay, another way that a lot of folks share their experience with us, if they choose to do so, is through the college interview. As you may know, we do offer them as an option here. They're not required, but both Aletta and Kevin were actually involved in the interview process here. Could you both share a little bit about your interview here when you were a prospective student? Did you talk about about activities, in your interview? And if so, in what way did they really flavor that conversation?
Yeah, so I actually remember my interview pretty vividly, even though it was a few years ago now. And also now being on the flip end of things, I've been able to shadow some current interviews that are taking place and kind of refresh my memory on really how Holy Cross does conduct interviews. And something that really stood out to me was the fact that it's truly just a conversation and none of the questions or things being posed are there to stump you because they're only questions or things about yourself. So I do think that extracurriculars and any of your involvements throughout high school were really kind of the bulk of the interview and how that guided all the questions they asked. So I just remember kind of talking about exactly what I've talked about now, some of the things I enjoyed doing, maybe classes I took, even talking about some of the difficulties of high school, just kind of being really real with that counselor or current student who's interviewing you. And I just kind of remember walking out of the interview as being, oh, relieved that wasn't as bad as I thought. And it really, truly just was a nice conversation about things that I was passionate about and a way to share that. So.
Yeah, and for me, I really came out of my interview thinking, and after my counselor really sort of sharing that the interview was just a way to humanize the papers that they were reading in front of them. Put a face, put a person, a personality to the resume, to the application, to the essay. And so for me, I think that I was really able to showcase my other involvements through my interview. It was really a great opportunity for me to, as Elena mentioned, share my involvements, and then the counselor was able to then take a closer look at some of those and ask, more thought-provoking questions about some of the things that I was involved in. So for example, I had mentioned that I was involved with the theater program at my high school. So, she took some time to ask, oh, like, what roles were you in? Like, how long have you been doing that? Do you like to sing or do you more like to act? Just sort of questions that, were, allowed me to sort of share a little bit more about myself, but also in turn made me feel really connected not only to her, but as a result to the community. And I said, oh my gosh, well, I can already start to sort of feel a place for me there, because then she was even able to share some of the opportunities for involvement at Holy Cross, whether it be through performing or through athletics or through service, based on the conversation that we had about some of my activities. So it was all around a really positive experience for me, that I also remember pretty vividly.
Those are all really great points, and just appreciate you both sharing your lived experience with that. We are offering interviews virtually, and so it's a wonderful chance for rising seniors, now throughout the fall, to connect with us and share a little bit more about your interests. And as you both pointed out, it's a really wonderful way to not only share a little bit about yourself and the things that you're up to. It's also a great way to learn about the certain things that are available to you at the college, and to really get that personalized information, and really ask those questions that are specific to you and your specific interests. So with that being said, I'm curious, thinking about the application itself. We had talked about, the essay, and of course, just now the interview. When you were compiling your extracurriculars and your activities to include in that part of the application, did you have a resume ready? And when did you actually create a resume? What was that experience like?
For me, I think I really started preparing my essay the summer before my senior year. I had talked about that with my guidance counselor at school, and um, she was able to provide some resources to help me build that resume. But it was really, I think, right before my senior year, right before the application process and interview process really was underway, so that once that process began, I was ready to sort of jump right in, and I wasn't scrambling to get it all together. So, I really, when I was building my resume, I said, what are the biggest things that I want to showcase about myself? What have been the most impactful involvements? Perhaps some achievements, whether they be academic related or, athletic, extracurricular, whatever that is for you, and just sort of putting, making, showcasing the best pieces of yourself in paper. As I mentioned, I think the interview was really where I was able to showcase, my personality, who I was as a person. But, for the resume itself, not all colleges will have you, interview. Holy Cross, I think, is pretty special in that way, but not all colleges will. So being able to showcase as much of yourself and your personality and what you're passionate about in that resume is what's really key.
Yeah, I would really kind of agree with everything Kevin said. Similarly, I think the college essay that I was writing, it actually, so junior year, I had a prompt for one of my English classes that really actually made me start thinking about my college essay, because it was kind of a similar, like, what was some, like, you know, life-changing experience in a way, or, and so that really got me thinking, like, okay, what has happened that made me really just kind of think differently? And so that, when I wrote that prompt, it got me thinking, okay, so how can I shorten this? Because obviously college essays are actually pretty short. And so really just put it all into a compact piece of work. Um, so I definitely think junior year, and then definitely the summer is kind of when I finished that up before my senior year. And then in terms of the resume and kind of getting together all of my involvements, I would say maybe sophomore year of high school is when that process began, with actually making a physical resume. Similarly to, I was, had a good relationship with my high school guidance counselor, and she was always a good resource to go to and kind of know, like, should I be working on this? Is this the right time to start? And also, I do think too, with a resume, sometimes you can get caught up in, like, I need to put everything down, and it has to be so long, and it has to have everything they're looking for. But in a way, I think I've learned now, especially being in college, it's almost more meaningful to have fewer but really things you're passionate about, and that when you will be asked in an interview, that you really can talk about them. Because um, we can't all, do 10 things at a time, but there might be three involvements that you really put a lot of time into, and those are key parts of your personality. So those will be the things that are meaningful to you and that you can talk about, and that's really different for every person. But I think that making that resume and that one sheet of paper helped me kind of condense that and think about entering college, what I was passionate about and wanted to continue with, and what represented me overall.
Those are all really great points. Really, really wonderful things to keep in mind, whether or not you have a resume ready for everyone watching out there. It's really great to keep in mind that, you're not always able to interview with every college or university. It's just a great way for you too to have a short list of everything that you've really been involved in. It is going to challenge you to really cut to the most important things, as a resume typically is just only one page. And so that's something that can really help you just kind of think about all the experiences you've had, that will help you get motivated and inspired as you head into the application process. And so with all of that being said, we have talked about a lot here tonight. We're all here to discuss how to make your application stand out. And, with everything that we have heard about the activities and involvement that Elena and Kevin have shared, I'm curious if folks out there have any questions that we haven't covered here. I am noticing that there are some things in the Q&A chat, and I really appreciate folks sharing here. I want to clarify for everyone that a resume is not required. It's something that is, optional for you to email to your counselor. If you do have an interview scheduled with us here at the college, you're welcome to do that directly, or you can submit it with your application as a supplement. So that's something that we encourage you to consider, not only for a tool for yourself to prepare as you're embarking on this process, but also for us to get another look into the things that are involved in your experience, and also the things that you're looking to get involved with here at the college. So with that, I am going to be looking at the questions here and see. I am curious here about, let's see, folks here. We've seen some questions about the Comlin application and including your extracurriculars. That is something that you'll see guided along in the process. And we do have some questions here that I appreciate folks sharing about the college essay. As you know, that is something we've talked about activities as a way to inspire the college essay. And this is just good food for thought. I'm curious, Elena, Kevin, how did you come to realize that or feel that your essay was good? How did you feel that your essay was done? You had talked a bit about the support that you had along the way and when you started your essay process. But could you start a little more into just knowing that your essay was of quality, in your own view, and that it was complete?
Yeah, I kind of remember the biggest, I don't know if Kevin, you agree with this, but it was very hard to make it short. I felt like in high school, all of the other essays we had written were longer. So, in a way, getting that down and getting it to a length where it still included everything I wanted, that helped me know that, okay, we're at a good point. Um, I also just think like almost setting it aside for some time and coming back to it and then rereading and having kind of a new look at it. Because sometimes, in the stretch of the high school years, it's kind of stressful and you're doing a lot of other work. So sometimes it's nice to just also maybe have someone else read it, and a teacher or a guidance counselor, and kind of give you some support as well. Um, but also just really, I guess how I knew in a way it was done, or what I wanted out of it, was just that I felt that it truly represented me. If someone read this, they would kind of leave knowing more about me, and almost as like an addition to that interview. Like when I interviewed, I hope too that leaving that day, they felt like they knew me more as a complete person in that sense. So I think similarly with the essay, just making sure, the length was good, and it included kind of all the key parts that I needed to, while showcasing a part of my personality.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Elena. And I'll just also add that I really utilized, the individuals in my life to sort of help me with constructing my essay. So, after I had written it, I had family members read it. I had a teacher read it over and sort of suggest her own sort of revisions. And that really helped me to kind of pare it down. As Elena was talking about how it can be hard to, make it as concise as it really does need to be. And my guidance counselor, she was a really big help in that process. And then, as Elena also said, just taking some time and then following back up with it in your own time and just sort of getting a fresh set of, personal eyes on it. I think that was a really those were the things that really helped me to sort of decide that, yes, this is it, this is done, and it's ready to be sent off.
Those are some true words of wisdom from both Elena and Kevin. Thank you both for sharing that. I mean, it's really important to keep in mind that there is no one size fits all route for your essay. It's something that is up to you and your comfort level. About when you start, who you're sharing it with. But it is worth it to keep in mind that the earlier you start and the more that you're willing to expose yourself to different eyes and to trust yourself to different readers, you will be able to get a lot of feedback to help make your essay stand out and to give you some good backup into your own instincts as well. That's really important. I do want to take a question that we're seeing here with the time left. That's really, really important and worth mentioning for the whole group here, as we know that there's a lot of things that had to change in the past year and a lot of activities that maybe had to stop, be pushed back, or maybe altogether canceled. And if you're one of those people in that boat, please know that not only do we completely understand, we certainly welcome and do have an option on our application just for you to explain certain experiences and impacts that COVID has had on your experiences. So that might include opportunities for testing and other classes being offered. It certainly might include the different activities or involvements that you may or may not have been able to continue. So don't worry about that. It's also something that you can talk about in the interview. There is no, required essay topic either. So keep in mind that, if you would like to talk about your activities, that's something that's really a great inspiration to many students and is something that, is completely up to you if you want to get into that or if you want to get into another experience or topic altogether. That's something that is really up to you as an applicant. And we really want to see and give you the opportunity to advocate for yourself to the best of your own ability. So whether you are interested or able to schedule an interview or not, we're really, really glad to see that there are questions about this. If you are interested in scheduling one, we do have the opportunity to do so online. It's super easy on our website, holycross.edu. You'll see the admissions tab, and then you will see under there the opportunity to schedule a virtual interview. There's multiple times of the morning and afternoon. Sometimes evening slots become available and even some Saturdays. So know that for right now, we have interviews available right now starting through the summer for rising seniors. They're going to be available all through the fall, but we really want to get to know you. We're looking forward to seeing you at our next installment of this continuing series. This is a 5-part mini series of making your application stand out. And as we're coming to the end of our time here, I really want to thank both Elena and Kevin for spending a bit of your time with us today, sharing your insights and your experience. It's been really wonderful to learn about just some of the things that you've been involved in and to hear some of the examples that you've done in your application experience. For everyone out there, please keep in touch with us. I'm going to put my contact information into the chat right now so that if you would like to reach out you can do so. We're really happy to connect with you, and we're really happy to see you at this special session where we've talked all about using your activities and experiences as a student to influence and inform your application. And so next week, we're going to be talking about how we get to know your high school. So how our counselors talk with, how we visit and interact with different schools all across the country and even the world. It's going to be really, really wonderful. The same time, same place, 7 o'clock Eastern. This will be archived and put on YouTube. So we thank you for those who are joining us here live. For those who are watching on YouTube, we appreciate you being here as well. We want to wish all the students out there all the best for not only the summer season, but the application season ahead. There's a lot of really exciting things to look forward to. We're excited to see you at the next section of this 5-part mini series and on campus if you're able to visit. And in the meantime, everyone take care. Elena and Kevin, thank you once again. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Please keep up the great work. Please keep washing your hands and keep in touch. Good night, everyone.